Good evening and welcome, one and all, to PACIFIC414 episode review. As always, I am your host, Mike, and tonight in this special live stream of PACIFIC414 episode review, I am going to be reviewing episode 5 of The Old Man, an episode which I thought was actually better than last week's. And it actually had a lot more interweaving interconnections to previous plot threads we've been given in the first 4 episodes. And the flashbacks actually made even more sense when you connect it to current events. So, one of the first things that we end up seeing, as soon as I'm able to pull it up here, and I need to find a good image. There we go. But the episode opens up with Harold Harper and Angela Adams sitting on board their airplane en route to meet with Hamazad. And I'm going to make sure that no sound actually plays because I do not want to get a copyright claim or a copyright strike. But we see both Angela and Harold, and Harold has figured a few things out when it comes to Angela, and those things are that she's been going by 2 different names. The name that he knows her as is Angela Adams. However, the other name she's been going by is by the name of Emily Chase, the daughter of Dan Chase. And there's some trust issues between the two. So Angela begins telling a story about a mother walking along the beach with her little boy. A wave comes crashing onto the shore and sweeps the boy out to sea. The mother prays for the safety of her son. An albatross comes and rescues the boy and gently lays the boy on the beach sand. And the mother says that the boy had a hat. And what this relates to is, which hat is Angela going to be wearing by the time they reach Hamzad? Is she going to be wearing the hat of an FBI agent named Angela Adams? Or is she going to be wearing the hat of Dan Chase's daughter, Emily Chase? So, there's trust issues between the two. And Angela even tells Harold how she joined the FBI to protect the country because her father, Dan, told her that she could do so. Basically, he told her that she could do whatever she wanted. And Harold isn't too happy because Harold, he says to her that when he looks at her, that she's someone who he thought he knew, someone who, in his eyes, was his daughter in the sense that he helped train her for what's going on, and he feels betrayed. He feels betrayed. He feels that Angela has pretty much chosen her side, but he wants to know which side that she's really going to choose by the time they land in at their destination. Meanwhile, we get another flashback. There's a scene between the young Dan Chase and his soon to be wife, Abby Chase. And there's a man being tortured in another room. And this is where the story starts talking about how the Russians have been making movements in and around Afghanistan. That's where they are. And they need to be on their toes, be on the lookout for any sudden movements. Of course, the man that's being tortured in the other room isn't breaking. And basically, what this relates to for Dan in the future with Zoe is, what assumed identity is she going to have to take on? What sort of life is she going to have to lead? And how does Dan figure into it? How does Zoe in the future figure it into it, just like Abby did at one point when she came with Dan to the States, leaving Hamzat behind? Of course, Dan ends up going into a room, comes back, he places a card on the dining room table, and he says, I assume that you know how to divide by two, meaning money wise. And Zoe says, I thought you weren't going to give me any money. And Dan says, it's not about the money to me. It's about keeping my daughter safe because right now, my daughter is in danger. She's going to a destination where she may not come out of this situation alive because of the man who's awaiting Harold Harper's arrival and her arrival. Now that Dan knows that his daughter is on board. So let me get to the next scene. We have another flashback, and it's young Hamzad, and he and Dan are talking. Of course, there's trust issues between what Dan can do as a CIA agent and what Hamzad wants, and also, again, the Russian movements. So let's go ahead and get to the next scene. And the next scene is a scene between Dan's future wife, Hamzat's current wife, saying that if you go through with what you want to do, just know that you're going to end up giving Hamzat power that he's not ready for. And she actually goes into more detail on that later on in the episode. So let's move forward. Let me move to the part where she's actually telling him this information. But again, I will not be showing any video. So, what she's telling Dan here is that it's fine that you help us get Hamzad, my husband, into power. But if you give him any more information, especially information about his bloodline, that he will become king and absolute power corrupts absolutely, is what she tells Dan. That's something that people aren't ready for. That's something that even Hamzat himself is not ready for. And hello, Kathy Skywalker. How are you? I don't know if you've seen the Jeff Bridges series, The Old Man, but I'm giving a live review to episode 5 of The Old Man. There are 2 episodes left in this season, and the show has been renewed for a second season. So let's go ahead and move forward here. And I'm doing it this way just to try to avoid the video from actually playing. on me and trying to avoid any copyright claims and copyright strikes. And hello to George Lucas. How are you doing this evening? All right. So let me try to get a better angle here, one that shows both characters. Here we go. I mean, it's as good as it's going to get. So here we have a scene where Dan's pretty much telling Zoe everything that she needs to know. She is going to be going under the name of Martha Dixon to his Henry Dixon. They're going to be posing as a married couple. But they also need to talk to Zachary, who Dan was talking to in episode 4, and they need to speed a few things up. She is informed that the money, once again, is just a safety thing. It's how Dan Chase is able to move around, and that going under this line of work is very dangerous. For all Dan knows, she could actually be a trained agent, and she's just pretending to be who she is. So let's go ahead and move on to the next scene. And in that scene, we do find out that their destination for both Dan and Zoe is to go to the airport so Dan can try to intercept Harold and Angela, aka Emily. So this again is on the private plane with Harold and Angela. And this is really where Harold wants to know, whose side are you on? You know, your father thinks he can go about his business, protect everybody, be a secret agent, and also a father, play multiple roles, and everything's going to be fine. But I want to know whose side you're on, because you don't know what kind of danger that you're in, what kind of trouble you're in for being a- an undercover agent, pretty much, working both sides, playing for both teams. And so that's pretty much what's going on in this scene. And Kathy saying, spent 3 hours at the Renaissance Fair. Nice. Very nice. I hope you had a lot of fun. So let's go ahead and move on to the next scene. And before I continue on, I am going to go ahead and put this up because I'm just going to be giving away spoilers from this point on. And another thing before they left this particular scene is when Harold Harper mentioned Angela, aka Emily's mother's real name, she had a feeling that Harold was doing that just to see how she would react to hearing her mother's actual name, not her assumed name of Abby. So that's what was going on in there. That's why Emily, aka Angela, is looking so distraught there, so distressed, because there's trust issues and they've been building up. So we next see Harold and Zoe pull into a parking garage. Let me try to pull that scene up here. It's a good shot where you can see it. All right, this will be good. So Next, we see Dan and Zoe pull into this parking garage, and the dogs get out and they're handed over to the handler. And we see a carbon copy of a receipt for a pet motel. And we know that the dogs are being put up in the pet motel because Dan and Zoe are about to go out of country. And of course, on that receipt, let me try to pull it up here if I can. Nah, it's not stopping where I need it to stop. All right, but when Dan gets back into the car, you see his receipt from the pet motel. It says Henry Dixon as a signature. And then we get a scene back at FBI headquarters with Waters, and one of the directors is talking to him saying, "You're going to get a phone call. You need to listen to this phone call. You need to listen to what's being said on the line because it's very important. And it's very important that you don't be yourself. In other words, don't be a complete jerk about it." So Waters gets the phone call and he gets a little bit of information pertaining to what's with the A plot. And that information is the fact that Harold and Dan's mentor is the one who is calling him right now and giving him information about both Dan and Harold, and how, in a sense, they are both his sons. He is, in a sense, their father because he trained them in the line of work that they're doing. And the reason why Harold is assistant FBI director and Dan was a CIA agent who then went into hiding. And he says, "Whatever you do, find him and I want you to hurt him. This is not something a father normally would ask of anyone to do to his sons, but he wants both Harold and Dan gone." And then, after he's done talking to Agent Waters, Harold and Dan's mentor is talking to Julian. Julian is pretty ticked off about what happened as far as the events were concerned when he went to take out Dan Chase at Zoe's place. The fact that he got shot near his left shoulder, and he wishes that he had a lot more information going into the situation than what he had going out of the situation. Of course, Harold and Dan's mentor says, "No, this is a risky line of work. And what I need you to do is, I actually need you to go in and finish the job." He's already talked to Waters and he wants Waters to hurt his boys. But what he really wants Julian to hurt both Dan and Harold. And by hurt him, he means kill him. So we have that scene. Let's go ahead and move on to the next scene. Next scene, the private plane that both Angela and Harold are on lands somewhere in North Africa. That's the only information we're given. And the reason why they're in North Africa is because Harold has to look for some files try and. All right. I skipped it. No, it's not there yet. All right. So let me go ahead and remove that. But this gentleman comes up to the plane, enters the plane, and says, Harper. Of course, both Angela and Harper stand up. And then we see a scene with both Dan and Zoe outside of Zachary's place. And Zachary was the agent who Dan was speaking to earlier about speeding a few things up property wise. And so after Dan tried and failed to talk to Zachary, Zoe gets out and she tries to talk to Zachary and says, we need this paperwork. We need it quickly. Of course, Zachary doesn't want to give it to her right away. And Zoe says, listen, Zach, time is of the essence. I need that paperwork so I can get to my next destination with my husband. So you're either going to do it or we're going to find someone else that can do it for us. And through the miracle of being Zoe and also realizing what her role is now in the whole situation, Zachary caves in. He gives her the paperwork. Meanwhile, Harold and Angela are inside an office and they're looking through paperwork, through all sorts of files. Why? Because Harold is being tasked to look up a plane manifest, passenger manifest, I should say, of when both Dan Chase and Angela's mother, Abby, were taken on board a CIA plane and flown out of Kabul. Of course, this passenger manifest is from April of 1987. Harold receives a phone call from Hamzad's lawyer who says that Hamzad wants to know what seats were the two of them in when they flew out of the country. Of course, Harper's all, you expect me to remember the seat numbers from a flight back in 1987? So Harold is able to find the paperwork, but again, he isn't able to remember the seat numbers. So what ends up happening is Harold finds out he's been duped, that he was set up by his own country to fail. He and Dan both were set up by the country to fail. And now they are marked men. And of course, Angela sees the disappointment and heartache on Harold's face. Trying to get it. Yeah, this is it right here. This is after Harold's done talking to Hamzad's lawyer, and he then hangs up. He throws the phone, and Angela sees the disappointment on his face. I'm still going to call her Angela because that's what the character's listed on IMDb. Granted, things on IMDb can be changed. So after Angela and Harold have their conversation about what occurred, we then go back to Dan and Zoe. And this is where we pretty much last see them at the airport. Zoe's saying to Dan that he's much more than what he thinks he is, much more than what he believes he is, and he should start acting like it. And one of the last scenes that we actually get in the episode after They've talked back and forth and how Zoe's willing to play along with this identity, and Dan's telling her, you need to know you cannot, under any circumstances, screw up. You screw up, we're both dead. And that's what he's telling her here. So the last thing that we see is we have both Dan and Zoe sitting in the airport, and they're talking a little bit more about what's going to go on. And then the final scene that we see is the two of them on board their line, and they're headed for Kabul, and they actually end up holding hands. Try to get it to that point. There we go. But they actually end up holding hands, and that's where the episode fades out. Fades to black, if you want to put it that way, too. I've got to say, I enjoyed this episode a lot more than I enjoyed last week's episode. Last week's episode just seemed to, go from one thing to another. Got to chase here, got to chase there, chase. I even said that in the previous review. But this episode to me was a lot better than last week's episode. This episode, if I'm gonna go ahead and rate it, is at least 4.5 out of 5. This episode does a nice job when it comes to tying up some loose ends and connecting some plot threads from episode 1 to now, from different flashbacks to the present, making sure that what's happening in flash past has something to do with what's currently going on between all our characters, specifically when it came to Abby and Dan. So that's one thing that I've really enjoyed about the series, is the fact that when you get these flashbacks in this series, they're not wasted. They're not just thrown in there for the sake of being thrown in there. They're relevant to the current plot line that's going on in present day. How what happened in the past relates to what's happening in the future. And there was even a nice scene when Zoe was talking to Zach, how the ghost, or, you know, the echo of Abby was saying to Dan while Dan was in the car, you know, you can't keep doing this. You can't keep having other people assume these other lives that aren't theirs. You have to let them live their lives, and you have to learn how to live with your life as as it currently is. So I really found this episode very entertaining. Again, liked it better than last week's episode. It's a 4.5 out of 5. I highly recommend this series to anyone who likes, spy thrillers, spy dramas. It has, some action in it. Granted, these last couple of episodes haven't been very action oriented. It's been more of the cat and mouse chase. And like how, when it comes to Angela, how she even says to Harold at one point in this episode, because Harold's, upset that she's choosing her father over her current career, she brings up the fact, well, you helped him too. You helped him in the beginning to get away from your own agents, and I'm doing the same thing because he's my father and I don't want anything to happen to him. So I highly recommend this series. I mean, overall, this series is very impressive, very well written, very well acted, and it's definitely something worth checking out. And I'm just checking on one other thing. Now, I know in the opening credit for this, you saw that Cash Money was listed in the credit. Well, he wasn't able to make it tonight, so I decided, since I already had this listed, I would go on ahead. But he and I do plan on talking about the series some more. Hopefully, he'll be able to join me for next week's episode, or perhaps the series, at least the first season finale. And at some point, and I'm going to go ahead and put the Phantom Hooligans channel in there. At some point, I'm sure he's going to have new content up there on his channel. He's been working hard on a few things, and I know it's going to turn out well. It's not like me where I'm trying to, get the episode review out there as soon as I can. And to be honest, I'm going to just be honest with you guys. I don't want to waste too much time between the time an episode airs and the next episode premieres in getting the reviews up. That's why you'll see at the end of my Orville live reactions, I'll do some actual live reviews because I want to let you all know what I'm thinking about it after I've watched it. It doesn't matter if, you know, some people decide, I'll wait a little later after I watch the episode to do the review. I want to let you all know what my thoughts on the episode are at that moment. So, my thoughts on this episode much better than episode 4, and I can't wait to see what happens in the next 2 episodes. The next live stream here on this channel will be tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Eastern. It'll be Sunday morning pop talk, and I have a few articles already selected. So I hope you'll all be able to stop by and join in on the conversation on PACIFIC414 Pop Talk, as it will be open mic. And then I might also throw in a short recapping tomorrow night's Cubs and Dodgers game. I don't know yet. I'll see when the time comes. But the next live stream on this channel could come possibly sometime Monday evening. I might even continue Final Fantasy 7 Remake sometime tomorrow night. I don't know. I don't know at this time, but I do know I want to see where the story in Final Fantasy 7 Remake goes. So hopefully you'll all be able to join me for that. And also, let's not forget Wednesday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern with Pacific Forum 4 Pop Talk. And then, of course, the live reaction and review of episode 7 of the Orville New Horizons. So I do want to thank some people who were here. I know I didn't flash your names on here. I was trying to just make this a specific review. But if anybody has seen the series, whether you're watching now or you watch after the live broadcast is over and you want to join in on a future review of The Old Man with 2 episodes left, let me know via Twitter and we can do it. But I do want to thank Phil McCracken. Yeah. Phil and other people love to get on my case about the fact that I have a tough time pronouncing Japanese. That's okay. It'll get better. The more I practice, the better it'll get. And I do want to thank Kathy Skywalker. And I also want to thank George Lucas for stopping by. So thank you all very much for watching this. I probably won't end it. It is what it is. And with that being said, I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you to all current subscribers, whether you've been here from the beginning or you've come here in the last year, last 6 months, last 6 weeks, last 6 days. Thank you all for joining me on this journey and creating the community that is Pacific 414. Really appreciate it. And just want to wish you all a good night and a happy Saturday, happy Sunday to all of you as well. And with that being said, I will go ahead and close this out. But thank you all very much.